I'm here today with Seyi Rhodes. Seyi, how are you, sir?
Very good. Very good. Thank
Glad
you.
you could join me.
Yeah, enjoying the
I
weather.
like, I know, and I like the plant behind you, I've got to say.
Yeah, it's one of my greatest achievements.
So listen, kind of journalist, celebrity interviewer, international documentaries, investigations, producer, director. How would you describe yourself?
And I'm a journalist. I'm a reporter. I'm a traveller. I always say
Yeah.
to people, if I won the lottery, I would probably still do the same thing: travel around the world, meet interesting people, and have strange, different experiences. So yeah, I'm just a bit of an explorer, really.
Were you a natural, always curious?
Yeah, pretty much always. I was brought up. I was one of those kids that was moved around a lot. So I always
Mm.
kind of felt like a bit of an outsider wherever I was. I was always kind of looking in and learning about the culture and trying to fit in a little bit, and then moving on to the next place. So
Yeah.
it meant that I was always naturally curious about where I was because it was kind of new to me. I had to quickly get my head around it, and I think that's just stayed with me.
I speak a lot about kind of tribes and actually how people spend a lot of time trying to fit in with the tribe. From your perspective, were you asking these questions to fit in, or were you asking these questions because you were curious about it?
No, more just because I was curious about it. I mean, a lot of the time I didn't think I was necessarily staying anywhere. I'm just kind of curious to find out how it all works, and to note the differences from between where I am and where I've come from. That just has always fascinated me. And then I think the next level is being able to go somewhere else and tell everybody about what you've seen there, which they don't know
Mm.
anything about it, and you can kind of bring something new to the table, and it gives you stories to tell. And I think that always appealed to me. In real life, it hasn't worked out that well, but yeah, no, I mean I've got loads of stories, but the truth is, in most social
Yeah.
situations, yeah, you haven't really got time to tell them all.
But do you realize as you're having these new experiences, are you thinking to yourself, "Wow, this is a new story I can share," or is it just something that's for you and it's only through time that you've realised this is something that other people want to hear as
No,
well?
always through time, you sort of realize. At the time, I just go through what I go through, and I don't always necessarily trust that what I'm experiencing is unique or special or is the same for
Right.
everybody, or it's going to be the same if anybody else came. But then over time, you talk to people about it, you tell people about your experience, and you start to realize that there's something here. Not only are people interested to hear about it, but I've got loads to say about it. And then you've got a story.
And then, but as a filmmaker, then how much is it planned and how much is it just instinctive because you trust yourself in that environment?
Um, in terms of filmmaking, it's a really interesting balance because I've done a lot of prep work, I've done a lot of research, I know roughly what I'm coming across, and obviously, in order to get the money and the kind of the backing of a channel before I go out there, I've had to lay out roughly what I think I'm
Yeah.
going to do. So there's a lot of acting that comes into it once you get there because you're going to have to take yourself back and experience it for the first time, as it were. It's the first time
Mm.
maybe I've experienced it in real life, but I've probably by that point seen it on TV or read about it.
Listen, Shay, kind of, you mentioned it before, kind of, you collate amazing stories. And that's what you do. Do you want to share one with us now?
All right. So one that's related to a film I made. I was quite young. I decided to go and explore Africa a little bit more. I started off because I've got family there. I started off in Nigeria. Spent Christmas with my
Mm.
granddad, which was lovely. Then I went off traveling, and I went through Senegal and eventually stopped off in Gambia because a friend of mine was teaching English out there. And one night I went out on my own and I noticed that there was a lot of older European ladies in this bar where I was. And I got myself a
Right.
drink and I was thinking, this is very odd. Loads of white women in a bar that, in the middle of Gambia, not a place I'd realised was
Yeah.
a big tourist destination. And suddenly,
Yeah.
as I'm walking back from the bar with my drink, this woman grabs me by the waist, pulls me onto her lap, and goes, "Hello, let me buy you a drink. I can treat you nicely." Blah blah blah. And her and her mates are all giggling. Before I know it, her hands up my t-shirt, and she's
Oh, wow.
she's having a good feel. and I was literally frozen. I was frozen in the spot. Felt like a complete, like a piece of meat. Anyway, eventually I got round to jumping up and started to get my head round over the course of the night that Gambia is a massive tourist destination for
Right.
white women from Europe to go and find themselves a nice young black man. And I happened to be in the wrong bar that night, basically.
Oh my lordy! How did you? I got to follow this. How do you extricate yourself from the whole thing?
I mean,
Was-
you laugh and smile and you giggle along. I mean, it's funny enough. She was English, but she didn't seem bothered by the fact that when she found out that I was English, she was still, willing to
Oh,
keep
really?
trying. Yeah, she figured she just need to increase the amount of money she paid, which was I thought interesting. But yeah, you giggle along and you have a laugh and you get yourself out of a situation. You think that was weird, but like I was saying, it's years later. Oh well, months and years later, when you tell the story, that you realise, oh, that's really interesting.
Yeah.
People want to find
I
out
mean,
more.
when you replay it to yourself, are there times when you regret your actions, or you wish you would have done something different in order to provoke a different reaction, or do you just live it? Are you just living it and enjoying it?
I don't. I know. I try not to regret too much. Not experiences
Right.
like that. There are times where, yeah, you definitely think I could have done better. I could have reacted better. I could have done.
Mhm.
I could have done differently. But on the whole, I tend to just go with it because you can't really blame yourself for how you react in a situation that you never planned to be in, or in a in a difficult situation.
Yeah.
You react how you can.
And do you think are you a naturally calm person in that situation,
Yeah,
whatever it is? Maybe.
yeah, 100%. That's one of my, I think one of my few qualities. I am quite calm. I don't tend to
Right.
freak out too much in situations. That doesn't mean I always make the right decision. I get scared, I panic, but I tend to be the calmest head in the room, or at least appear to be. And that's really helps me out
Oh,
in
you're
a lot of situations. Pardon?
brilliant. While you're furiously paddling underneath, you're appearing kind of completely serene
Yeah,
on top.
totally, totally. I mean, I remember once in Sierra Leone, I had a policeman point a gun at me, like kind of a machine gun type thing at me.
Right.
And he was very angry and he was screaming, and I was in the wrong part of town. I was near a military base. I shouldn't have been, where we were. We had a camera, and it was all very tense. And while my producer was putting his camera down and sort of shuffling and trying to basically run away, I kind of looked a little bit closer and realised that this guy didn't have a magazine in his gun, so was unlikely actually to be able to do anything. So it was a big
Yeah.
show, and that's part of the reason he was screaming and all the rest of it, because he wanted to make a
Yeah.
big show, but actually there was no teeth behind it. So we could still extricate ourselves from the situation, but realise that we weren't about to get shot.
Brilliant. Listen, Shay, thank you so much for your time with us, and especially the couple of stories. They're brilliant and really appreciate it. And have a great day.
Thank you.